Yo, what's up guys? We're in the double drop right now. So I think most people are, as mentioned, that I was going to be doing first, going to be into a lot of GP outpost. From the GP outpost, I've been farming a very fair bit for mainly holo. And with that holo, I did make my Romocha as following. So I don't have any dupes in my Romocha, but I did max the skill 1 and I did max the skill 3. And with that, and a pretty solid set, 217 crit damage, 2k attack. That's definitely, I would say, a pretty solid set for the individuals. It's right over there. We did get a lot of flat attacks. Too bad it didn't go into attack percentage over those. It would be really nice. But we also have a lot of crit rate, so I actually don't have to fix any crit rate in any of those over here. Plus, I have a shell which has a 20%, 30%, and then another 8%. So definitely a really good shell as well. So what is the thing that I'm mainly farming? Well, you saw it in the thumbnail and the title. I'm mainly farming DokiDoki right now. That's where I'm going to be blasting through most of my stability. Still have 900 over here. Still have a lot over there as well. And as you can see, I even cleared DokiDoki INFERNO on 3 stars. I did use a team which is a less free-to-play friendly option, but I'll first showcase the free-to-play friendly option. It works. It does fail though. I would have to mention it does definitely fail. So what is the free-to-play version? It's this. So how does it work? How does it feel? Let me show you. First of all, it's mainly about just killing the whole thing in 2 rotations. That's just the main thing that you're looking for. That's the main thing that you're aiming for. I'll showcase the individual gear of everyone after this as well. But I'll first showcase you a free-to-play style of run, if it works in one go. And then I'll showcase the more pay-to-win version as well. And that one definitely does have a little bit more gear requirement needed. So in this case, I do have an insane amount of accuracy, but there's still that 10% innated that you could miss things. You have to put it on auto and you have to target the one on the left or the one on the right. Doesn't really matter that much. But it would be super nice if you could just simply target anything and then it would definitely be a little bit better. So in this case, with the Lingluo, we do get the slumber in over there. A few of them take a turn. It doesn't really matter if they took the turn or not. The slumber extra damage is nice because then you nearly one-shot the thing. But it's also fine if it leaves with like 20% HP. The cleanup is totally fine. But as you can see, 1 minute run. Super, super nice. I've been letting this run on auto. And I would say that this team, in all honesty, was failing about 4 out of 10, maybe 3 out of 10. The other version with the Mio definitely has a little bit less fail chance. So first, let's actually showcase all of the gear for all of the units. And then I'll showcase also how much this has been running during the meantime. And then we're also going to go into the more pay-to-win version and how much better it is. So first of all, we have that Romocha. Romocha, as mentioned, full on the damage with a Fury and Momentum. I think Fury and Momentum is probably the best you can work with because you have a lot of debuffs. Because of the claws, you have the Slumber in there. So I think Momentum probably does do the most amount of damage for that. Also, you have to keep in mind that you're working with a Count, and Count gives 1200 extra attack. Revelation doesn't work, White Knight is not that interesting, so Count is by far the best thing you can get there. Plus, if you're stacking a lot of attack, to actually countermeasure that, you have to stack a lot of crit damage. And that's exactly what I did in the modules as well. And for that reason, I still need to have 45 crit rate. You might be asking, like, isn't that too low crit rate? Now you have the 45 plus 10 is 55, plus another 15 from being the right element is a 71, plus 30 of the buff from Yang is in this case the 101. So you need plus 45 crit rate to make her max out on crit rate. But you do need that Yang for the crit rate buff and the attack buff. As mentioned for skill ups or dupes, 0 dupes in there, skill 3 max, skill 1 maxed, at least for the attack part that you see over here. And that is about it. Then the claws, I did max out the claws towards level 3. Well, it's not maxing out, but I did put claws on level 3 because you have a higher chance of landing the defense down, the slow, and the hacking process. It's mainly for the defense down. You definitely do want to get that one, so that is definitely a recommended. It's not necessarily a must. You can run it without, but it's highly recommended. Then for the set that we have on it, we have a Codex of Magic. It's a must that you have a Codex of Magic. And then over here we have a 212, so all 3 of them are accuracies on the right side. And then a 224 speed, and the rest is just a little bit tankiness, but mainly focusing on the accuracy and on a decent amount of speed. I would say if you're about like 120-ish plus, it's recommended. You can go without making her a 6-star, but I think it's kind of recommended to make her a 6-star. Then on to the next, which is the Kazuyo. Once again, Shell Codex of Magic is 100% a must. Skill ups, I actually nearly full skilled her up. Skill 1 is nearly max because this part, well, this part is not that interesting as much as that this one is interesting for having a higher chance of the slumber. I would say if you were to skill her up, maybe just skill her up until here. unless you also want to have the speeds in here, and it's GP outpost doubling right now anyway, so if you want to do anything for skill up, especially for the SRs, do it right now, so I actually maxed her out. Skill 3 max is a must. But I also went a bit in the skill 2, mainly to just get this turn meter in there. I think this is a little bit less interesting because I have that much accuracy, so it's probably less interesting. But I could go for this one as well. Plus, I can kind of use this in PvP later as well, so I don't really mind too much to max her out. Then we have the Yang. Yang is also, once again, on the Codex of Magic, but this is Codex of Magic that's not fully stacked out. It is unawakened, and it's not having the speed in here. This is kind of my leftover Codex of Magic. It's still Swift Rush, but you need a third Codex of Magic, but this one can definitely be a little bit lower level. Also, Yang is just pretty much on whatever gear and where he's just trying to get enough speed. That's pretty much the main thing. Get enough speed and be tanky as possible with like the triple HP in there. You can maybe put a little bit of damage for the cleanup on the mid-boss in the end for it, but it doesn't really matter all that much. Skill up-wise, absolutely nothing. I do have a few dupes in him, but also that part doesn't really matter all too much. Then we have the Lingluo in the free-to-play version, which is a 103 speed. She has a gigabyte to cut between the 3rd and the 4th unit. The number 3 and the number 4 unit that move can give you an attack break. If you get an attack break, it's definitely bad for the Romocha. So for that reason, it's nice to have a cleanse potential. It is better if she is max skilled because I think she has more chance to cleanse on the skill 3, or is that somewhere else? I'm not sure. I think she has an upgrade over cleanses. Yeah, it's over here. This one is a higher chance of purifying. If you have this, then Lingluo definitely becomes a lot better and a lot more value if that have that level 4 in there. But I don't have the perfect lattice for that stuff. So for that reason, I don't do that. Stats-wise, I have 103 speed, and then it's just on the modules, triple HP as well. This one isn't really even maxed out, but this is pretty much the first time that I started like heavy farming into any of the module dungeons, so that is stuff that will come out later. So let's see during the meantime, how much did we do? We did fail a few, as I mentioned. I've seen like 40-50%-ish fails on this one. So it's definitely a fair amount of fails. And where does it go wrong? It's mainly just you don't land the right skills at the right timing. And adding more accuracy is probably not even going to change that much. I'm not sure how much resistance these things have. But it's definitely one of those things like, yeah, you can add as much resistance as you like. But in the end, it's all about getting the right rotation, getting all of the armor breaks on the target that you're actually hitting, and doing all of that stuff correctly. That is just pretty much the only thing that it's all about. So you move right now, you get the slumber, that's totally fine. You take a turn, you get that skill, totally fine. And then we go for the skill 3, and it's a fine rotation while we're looking at it. Sure, you have to clear the mid-boss a little bit more if it wasn't at the slumber state during the fight as well. But in this case, you get a bit of pushbacks. You get her skill 1 in, and that's why I did max her skill 1 out as well, because it's just helping out a little bit. He's pretty much not doing anything, and he's doing a really good job at doing nothing and just giving the attack buff and the crit buff. And then we just clean it up with the Romocha. So that is how easy it is, but let me show you the other team scenario as well with a Mio in there. Also, it is a little bit better if Kazuyo is a little bit faster, because then she would be cutting the turns of those monsters right now. And in this rotation, we did actually have one of our units die. So that's one of those things. It is a little bit better if she does cut that turn. But then again, if she does cut the turn, there's some more likelihood of a chance where they're out of the slumber. And if you're hitting on the slumber, it's 25% extra damage. So with that, you do have a one-shot. Without it, you don't. So that's kind of the back and forth on that one. But let me showcase also the team that I'm running right now. If I wouldn't have a Mio, I would still be running this. I would just take all of the losers for granted. Sure, over the whole 2x duration, it's going to be somewhat of a waste of probably like 300, 400, or 500 stability in total for the amount of fills that he had. But for 2x and doing Inferno at this relatively early into the game, I think that's absolutely worth it. And you just take it as is. But if I go for the proper team that I'm using right now, I'm using this. I still want to get Mio to about like plus 10 speed more, but that's of course what I'm farming here in this case. If I get that 10 speed extra, I will have her at a better rotation where she moves in front of some of the other units as well. In this case, I did go for a double accuracy and then 1 attack because it's just a lot faster that way. But it would be really nice if she moved all the way first, because right now, if she gets the slows in, these things move in front of her, which is kind of bad. And if I don't have that, it's a lot better. But after that, rotation is kind of the same. I would have to check if this armor or this attack break makes it where I don't kill the first wave. I'm not 100% sure. I think I still do enough damage to kill that first wave where it doesn't really matter as much. So let's see, is that enough damage? No, that's definitely not enough damage. So the attack break is definitely a killing factor, which does make it pretty bad. And yes, she's gonna get hit in the first place. Actually, maybe I should put Bulwark on her. Well, if I put Bulwark on her, I will have a lot less speed and a lot less accuracy. But I think I'm gonna put Bulwark on her so she doesn't get the slow in the first rotation. As long as I just move in front of the number 2 and the number 3 unit in line, I'm totally fine. So let me actually switch that real quick before the next one run. So let me actually switch that real quick, or let's see if I can actually switch that. And let's see if that works out better for me, because I have decent speedy bulwarks as well. So in this case, we do have the bulwark on you. You're 153, so it is a little bit slower than what it was earlier, but you move in the right state where it's moving over there, and that's totally fine. So these two move, that's fine. Also have more accuracy on you right now. So there's more odds of landing that. And I think with that, we would have a perfectly fine rotation if we go for skill 3 into a skill 3. Yep, we do have the speed buff already. And we go for a heavy hit over here. I think that this is definitely a better rotation, which will give me more win rate altogether. Wait, why did I not do as much damage over there? Well, sometimes there are a few things where you just miss the debuffs and those kind of things. And this team does have a little bit more of a punch where you could still win if things go wrong because of the Mio altogether. But in general sense, it is kind of bad the moment that you start missing things. It's really darn bad. So let's actually see if this still has some chance of winning with that way. Because in the end, if you just don't land your skills in the first round, then it's kind of done for. But I think we have a decent amount of chance for pushing back right now. Let's see if this goes for a really bad run. But yeah, in the end, this is going to fail just because of the 10% innated, where you just have a 10% chance to not land your things in the first place, which is definitely a little bit annoying, especially if they start stunning you and then run is done for. So let's try that again. Let's see how that happens this time around. So we have hit on that, that's fine. You go for your S3, as should be done. Yes, sir. Let's see if we land all armor breaks over here. We did get no armor break on the one on the left. Yeah, that's just the issue if you auto it. I'm not sure if it would go on the most right one because I switched the target. Yeah, I did switch the target. If it is best if you do actually keep active track of like which one has the best target. So currently today I don't have that much time to actually manual things. If I were to have more time to manual things, then it would be a little bit better for that sake, where you're hitting the things. Like, for example, if I target this one right now, it did still have a freeze, I think. I'm not 100% sure. But, oh no, it did not have a freeze in the end. But that is definitely something that you can kind of prevent the moment that your main target that you're going to be focusing on doesn't have the armor break. And therefore, manual run technically does a little bit better. But in the end, don't really have that much time to manual today. And I don't think I get through like a 60, or no, not 60k, 6k of stability if I just let it run on manual all the time. But I would have to do that on auto. So in the end, we'll still just remain this on auto. This will be the team that I'm using. And also the moment I have a slight bit better gear on the Mio, I think it will be a little bit better as well. Plus, I can still get some speed upgrades also for the Kazuya and the Claws. And Romocha is pretty much as good as it's going to be. I'm not going to be able to upgrade any of that. But yeah, it's a pretty satisfying run. But keep in mind, it will definitely fail because in the end, it doesn't matter how much accuracy you have. There is a 10% innate that you just simply are going to be missing skills. And with that, it's just, yeah, but too bad. Sucks to be you. Try again next. And you do lose 1 stability every time you do fail. It's unfortunate, but in the end, that is, if that's the worst thing. At least I'm farming the Inferno. I'm trying to get the best gear out there. Cannot really farm the shells yet, but that is a problem for after the weekend, I think. Because this, I'm probably just gonna do all 6k that I have left over, just simply in this. And that's all for this video, guys. Thanks a lot for watching. Let me know what you are going to be farming and what kind of team. Maybe you already do some Infernos, or are you actually sticking towards the GP Outpost and Hell Force? Let me know. Thanks a lot for watching. We're gonna blast into the next one and see you once again later. And we did not actually kill that. Romocha, that was the timing that you had to kill that one. Give me good loot and show like, oh, this is freaking crazy. Good loot? No, nothing. Well, either out, guys. Thanks for watching. See you later. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.